We're still looking at issues regarding infrastructure, but this time we move to Ogun State, where Governor Dapo Abiodun has flagged off the reconstruction of the 14-kilometer Ijebu-Ode-Ekpe road to increase accessibility and improve socio-economic activities in the state. At the ceremony held at the Ijebu-Ode end of the road, the governor said the reconstruction will be completed within a year. He also explained that the project and expansion of the road is being done through a public-private partnership.
Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun arriving to the warm embrace of cheerful residents. It's the flag-off of the reconstruction and extension of the 14-kilometer Ijebu-Ode-Ekpe road, which is an alternate route that links Ogun State to Lagos State.
All Ogun State citizens, and by extension, everybody in Nigeria, to the glory of the youth performance.
Governor Dapo Abiodun describes the project as a major component of his promise of service delivery to the people.
The Lagos-Ibadan road is under construction at the moment. However, even when that road is completed, it will not be able to accommodate the amount of traffic that road will see because of the population explosion of the new towns in that corridor. That makes a case for this road, because this road presents an alternative route for all those coming from the east of Nigeria, all those coming from the Ijebu area, even those coming from Ibadan.
The road is designed to have a dual carriageway with 6 lanes on each side and a toll plaza.
We want to charge the people and the indigenous of Ijebu and its environment to please cooperate with the contractor in order to endanger a smooth operation. For people who want to work on the project, please register on the state job up.
Residents commend the state government for the development.
To touch the people, you need to touch one of the ways of their economic livelihood. And for us, this is a great achievement, very, very, very important one.
During rainy season, it's a no-go area, and it gives people a longer time of traveling. So many breakdowns on their vehicle. But with this effort, it's going to turn around the whole place.
The Ogun State government says the expansion and reconstruction of the Ijebu-Ode-Ekpe road is part of its efforts to bring about infrastructural and socio-economic development in the state and is expected to be completed in 12 months.
Makoli is one of the 2 official internally displaced people's camps in Adamawa State. Officials put the figures of people living in the camp at over 1,200, most of them children. Our correspondent, Ibrahim Adra, spent a day with the IDPs and reports on their plight, including the birth of a baby boy to a man who already has 10 children.
Malkohi camp, waking up to a new day. Gratitudes for the peace that envelops the camp and hope for a better day. As the sky lights up, the day's chores begin. Life is slow, lacking in the energy that ordinarily comes with the weekdays. Within this short fence, life is challenging. Daily, the displaced persons have to venture outside the camp to source for means of livelihood. A pass is required. The women and children bear the brunt.
Women are, as a matter of necessity, forced to go to neighboring communities where they go to farms that have been harvested only to pick up bits and pieces of rice like we have here, sort them out, and that is what they sell in return for either cash or corn.
There are other commercial ventures, but only a few can make purchases. Earlier training in skills acquisition cannot flourish for lack of startups. A few scrape a living. In Malkohi camp, food is scarce. They say they have not received any food ration since December of last year.
Tun 13 ga watan Disamba har zuwa yau yanzu haka ba mu samu abinci ba.
Muna neman wata uku ba wanda ya gani abinci.
Officials confirm the story.
The food is here in the store, so they have issues which they have rectified. I don't know much about it, but I think that is what I've been briefed, and we now take it up. We inform the national, and that has been resolved.
Boreholes provide enough water for hygiene and other uses, but some of the restrooms are a different story altogether. The living quarters are bare and dusty. In one of them, a new baby arrives on the day we visited.
Congratulations.
The baby is one more addition to children that make up more than half the population here. Osman Aliyu is one of those who made it to classrooms run by the military.
Boko Haram can come a gun because I run, me, father, and my mother and the children all. I come to movie.
So this is a sizable class of about 40. On the average, there are 50 in each class. Altogether, 400 students in this school at the moment. And their complaint mostly is lack of food, lack of materials for their classes, no uniforms, no chalks, and other writing materials.
Religious teachings are not neglected. Late afternoon, the elders take things easy. The young ones, however, have ideas of their own. We joined them in a game of football. Adam Agaladu has been here for 4 years and has 16 children. Those who can afford dinner start early. Whatever families can put together as meal is eagerly awaited and eaten with relish. As the sun set on another day, Malkohi camp residents prepare for the night. How comfortable a sleep that will be, your guess is as good as mine. One wonders though, when will the food ration return? And like the woman leader asked, what will be the fate of several children whose parents' whereabouts are unknown? An even more pertinent question is when will they go back home? From Yola in Adamawa State, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
A pathetic situation indeed. Now let's get more perspective concerning the condition of the IDPs in Adamawa State. And joining us live from Abuja to discuss this is the head of mission, Doctors Without Borders Nigeria, Mr. Omar Abenza. It's a pleasure having you with us.
Hi, good night. It's a pleasure for me being with you as well.
Now, about 7.1 million people were said to be in need of urgent life-saving humanitarian assistance as of 2019. This number is expected to rise this year. How do you think this should be handled?
The humanitarian situation in the northeast remains dire. There are also other crises ongoing in the rest of the country, notably northwest. It is important that access to those people that are in need is guaranteed. Today, for instance, in Borno State, we have less presence of military in the roads, so people are less available to access, move, and receive services. Humanitarians, we have more blockages and more difficulties because of insecurity and because of preventions from the authorities to be moving. So it is key that we can get access to people inside of the areas that are controlled by the army, but also outside. We don't have to forget that there's around 1 million people that are still in areas that are not controlled by the Nigerian army, and they are trapped. And these people need basic services. They need to get health, they need to get food, they need to get shelter, they need to get basic needs covered. And in line with that, I think in places where it is possible, the civilian authorities need to be deployed. For instance, MSF, we're running hospitals in different places in Borno State, and we are missing more Ministry of Health staff, doctors, nurses. Yeah, so it's a three-lined answer in order to handle the deteriorating situation. As we've seen, there's constantly attacks and security incidents ongoing. So it's very concerning, and access is essential.
How the humanitarian crisis is triggered by armed conflict, how best do you think civilians in conflict zones can be protected to avoid humanitarian crisis of this magnitude?
Yeah. Well, protection is a major concern in the crisis. I mean, there is, again, there's a lot of people that are out there and who don't have access and don't have the capacity to go to areas that can be protected and released from violence. So this population are basically totally exposed. They are exposed to violence from the armed groups, and they are exposed as well to the lack of services that being trapped means. The people that are in areas that are controlled by the army, and I go back again to the Borno State, they're also suffering protection issues. There's a lot of violence ongoing in the communities. We have a lot of cases of sexual violence. We have people who are also being abused because of being accused of having collaborated with the armed groups. And we have a lot of people who have been displaced and who are living in very unacceptable and basically not good conditions in IDP camps, in displaced camps. So all of this generates protection concerns, not only in terms of security, but also in terms of not having access to the basic services, and especially when it comes to women and unaccompanied minors. As I said, in all the sexual violence cases, we have a lot of minors, a lot of, it's mostly girls minors. So there's many who come with no parents, they don't have a proper place to stay, they don't have safety. Some of them, they even have to go and sell their own bodies in order to get food. I mean, so it is acute, yeah? So we should be respecting, we should be offering access for all the humanitarian actors and the civil actors that are entitled and that are capable to provide that protection to the population. And of course, we all wish that security improves and that there is less violence.
Sir Omar Benza, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10. Now let's find out what's happening in the world of business. Teniola Shobawali is standing by.
To business news. The central bank governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has said that private jets belonging to loan defaulters would be seized in a bid to help local financial institutions recover their funds. Mr. Emefiele announced the measure while highlighting the level of indebtedness in the Nigerian banking sector today. The governor notes that the chunk of loans in the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria is being owed by defaulting Nigerians who discourage lenders from improving their loan books. He adds that other funds belonging to such defaulters would be confiscated, but maintains that banks will continue to lend to credible entrepreneurs in the real sector. Pan-African financial institution United Bank for Africa has delivered 111 billion naira in pre-tax profits to investors, growing earnings beyond 0.5 trillion naira mark. The group's audited financial statement filed with the Nigerian Stock Exchange reflects a post-tax profit of 89 billion naira from a base figure of 78.6 billion naira. UBA recorded a remarkable 20.2% growth to 2.1 trillion naira in loans in the year under review and has proposed a final dividend of 80 kobo per share, bringing the total dividend for the calendar year to 1 naira. Well, one of Africa's largest providers of telecommunications services, MTN Nigeria Communications, is reporting a profit before tax of 290 billion naira, representing a 31.1% growth. Earnings per share rose 38.8% to 9 naira 90 kobo, while earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization edged up by 45%. According to a statement, the telecoms is recommending a final dividend of 4 naira 97 kobo and is positive about its 4G expansion network to drive revenue growth in 2020. The discovered case of COVID-19 in the country instigated sharper sell-offs in the equity space on Friday, worsening the bearish sentiment in the week. This led to a decline in the key benchmark indices week on week by 4.28% after a whopping 2.21% plunge on Friday alone. 58 equities depreciated in price, with Red Star Express leading the list, while the news of Law Union and Rock acquisition by Ferret Capital put the company ahead of 5 other equities which appreciated in price. Apart from the industrial goods segment, major sectors of the market also closed unimpressive, led by the banking stocks. Total trades for the week culminated in over 1.5 billion shares traded for 24 billion naira in 21,646 deals. And that's it on Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Tenny. Still ahead on the news at 10, Liverpool's unbeaten run of success in this season's Premier League ends in unimaginable fashion as struggling Watford hammered European champions. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.